हम मिलकर लो कार्बन एल्यूमिनियम, ग्रीन आयरन और क्लीन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पर काम कर सकते हैं। एआई मिशन, क्वांटम मिशन और सेमीकंडक्टर प्रोग्राम के अंतर्गत भारत सरकार ने $10 बिलियन से ज्यादा का सपोर्ट दिया है। हम डेटा सेंटर, एआई, क्वांटम, सेमीकंडक्टर और डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के क्षेत्र में मिलकर ग्लोबल सॉल्यूशंस तैयार कर सकते हैं। ऑस्ट्रेलिया के पेंशन फंड्स आज $4 ट्रिलियन से अधिक एसेट्स मैनेज करते हैं। भारत में पेंशन की बचत को एक पवित्र अमानत माना जाता है। हम इसे केवल कैपिटल नहीं, करोड़ों करोड़ों परिवारों का ट्रस्ट मानते हैं। भारत आपके फंड्स को सेफ, स्टेबल और सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ का अवसर देता है। हमारा प्रयास रहेगा कि आपका ट्रस्ट भी बढ़े और आपका कैपिटल भी बढ़े। एजुकेशन और स्किल्स में दोनों देशों के बीच नेचुरल सिनर्जी है। डिकिन यूनिवर्सिटी और वुलंगडोंग यूनिवर्सिटी ने गिफ्ट सिटी में कैंपस खोलकर एक नया अध्याय शुरू किया है। यह भारत के प्रति उनके कॉन्फिडेंस का प्रतिबिंब है। हमारा साझा लक्ष्य होना चाहिए कि हम स्टूडेंट मोबिलिटी को टैलेंट पार्टनरशिप में बदले। फ्रेंड, इन सभी क्षेत्रों में आगे बढ़ने के लिए हमें एक और महत्वपूर्ण आयाम पर ध्यान देना होगा। हमारी पार्टनरशिप केवल दोनों राजधानियों या कुछ शहरों तक सीमित नहीं रहनी चाहिए। हमें हमारे राज्यों, छोटे बड़े शहरों, विश्वविद्यालयों, उद्योगों, सभी के स्टेक होल्डर्स बनाना होगा। वेस्टर्न ऑस्ट्रेलिया की क्रिटिकल मिनरल स्ट्रेंथ, उसको हम उड़ीसा और गुजरात की मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कैपेबिलिटी के साथ जोड़ सकते हैं। क्वींसलैंड और टेस्मेनिया की क्लीन एनर्जी और एग्रीकल्चर एक्सपर्टीज, पंजाब और तमिलनाडु और आंध्र प्रदेश के रिन्यूएबल कॉरिडोर्स और फूड प्रोसेसिंग इकोसिस्टम को नई गति दे सकते हैं। न्यू साउथ वेल्स और विक्टोरिया की फाइनेंस, एजुकेशन, मेडिकल टेक और इनोवेशन इकोसिस्टम महाराष्ट्र, कर्नाटका, तेलंगाना के साथ मिलकर ग्लोबल सॉल्यूशंस बना सकते हैं। साउथ ऑस्ट्रेलिया की डिफेंस, स्पेस और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कैपेबिलिटी उत्तर प्रदेश और केरलम के साथ नए अवसर बना सकती है। मेरा सुझाव है कि हम आने वाले समय में कुछ फोकस स्टेट टू स्टेट और सेक्टर टू सेक्टर पार्टनरशिप की पहचान करें और उन्हें आगे ले जाने के लिए रणनीति बनाए। फ्रेंड्स, लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों और इंडो पैसिफिक साझा विजन के आधार पर हमारे बीच गहरा स्ट्रेटेजिक कन्वर्जेंस बना है। हम अपनी बिजनेस पार्टनरशिप को नई ऊंचाइयों पर ले जाने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध हैं। इस प्रयास में आप सभी की भूमिका बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। मुझे विश्वास है कि आज का ये संवाद नए आइडियाज, नई पार्टनरशिप और नए कमिटमेंट्स को जन्म देगा। मैं फिर एक बार प्रधानमंत्री जी का इस कार्यक्रम के लिए समय निकालने के लिए उनका हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं और आप सभी को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। धन्यवाद।
All right, you just heard Prime Minister Modi. He addressed the India-Australia CEO Forum in Melbourne. The event has brought together leading business leaders from both the countries as India and Australia look to expand their economic partnership. In his address, the Prime Minister focused on India's fast-growing economy, as you heard, the government's reform agenda and many opportunities for the global investors as well. So as far as the Prime Minister's visit there is concerned, trade, critical minerals, clean energy, defense, tech, digital innovation, education and skill development are expected to be the key areas of the focus. Both the countries are looking to build stronger businesses link and reduce the dependency on the limited global supply chains. And we're learning that during his visit, Prime Minister Modi will also be holding a key meeting with his Australian counterpart, and the two leaders are expected to review the ties in trade, defense, security and a possible agreement that we're learning on the commercial supply of uranium to India. All right, so that is the latest we're learning as far as Prime Minister's visit to Australia is concerned. Also, let's tell you about what is there on the table as far as the key meeting is concerned. Agenda number 1, ECTA upgrade, push towards CECA. Agenda number 2 is that Australia base for 21 critical minerals. So China edge as well, Indo-Pacific cooperation. Agenda number 4 is that Prime Minister will be engaging with a diaspora there as well. So a crucial lineup there during the day as well. And just a while back, you just heard Indian Prime Minister. He addressed the Indian-Australia CEO Forum. Akanksha Swarup, news editor of Foreign Affairs, is joining us live on the broadcast. Akanksha, do give us the key highlights of this address by the Prime Minister.
Right. A very good morning to you, Akanksha, and all our viewers as well. And Prime Minister has addressed the annual CEOs Forum. Remember, they meet irrespective of the heads of state meeting or not. It's been an annual forum for the CEOs where they also use their good offices with the heads of state to advise them on economic matters and where both countries, India and Australia, can head in terms of greater, stronger economic partnership. And so it just so happened that this time around, Prime Minister's visit was coinciding with the CEOs Forum, and we heard Prime Minister's address where he's gone on to talk about how there needs to be greater mobility for Indian students as well. Remember, Australia is one of the few international players in India when it comes to education. This is the country that has been given the permit to open 9 Australian university campuses in India. But India is also looking towards sending greater number of students to Australia. So student mobility is something that Prime Minister spoke about. More importantly, he's also spoken about energy partnership, and he's declared how India and Australia will be working towards clean energy. This at a time which is very critical given the currently divided geopolitical climate and the disturbances in West Asia. The conflict has restarted in the Strait of Hormuz, which brings the focus back on how energy and cargo vessels are again getting targeted. So all countries that Prime Minister has been visiting, he's in fact, as far as business and trade partnerships are concerned, Akanksha, remember, there are 2 critical areas of focus. One, of course, is clean energy. The other is critical minerals, something that you did mention. Now, India and Australia also forged the CETA, which is basically the Cooperation in Economic Trade Partnership, and that was forged in April of 2022. Let's hope there's some interesting announcement coming in, but our sources tell us we can't expect any big announcement so far. But the CETA has been extremely critical in sort of encompassing the overall gamut of this bilateral relationship, whether it is trade ties, say focus on security in the Indo-Pacific. This particularly will feature, as far as Indo-Pacific is concerned, during Prime Minister Modi's bilateral engagement with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, which should be taking place in just say a couple of hours from now.
All right. Thank you so much, Councillor Swaroop, for putting that into perspective. In fact, Times Now also spoke to Australia's High Commissioner to India, Philip Green. Listen in to what he said.
Hi, Commissioner. Welcome to Times Now. Thank you so much for joining in. I can't help but absorb there's so much of Australia around me right now. If you could explain that piece of artwork for us.
Oh, with pleasure. So this is a photograph by an Australian artist called Christian Thompson. He's an Indigenous person, and that's a photograph of him in the centre. And you can see there are Australian Indigenous elements, especially in the way in which his hand and face are painted. He's really one of the modern and most thought-provoking of contemporary Indigenous artists. He happens to be a graduate of Oxford. He's a scholar as well as an artist. I think in this artwork he's dealing with issues about the native. You can see it's filled with the native flora in Australia. And I know you're going to ask about Prime Minister Albanese's visit to Australia. An important thing that he will find is the focus that we have on our Indigenous culture and people.
Right, and that's what unites India and Australia as well, because we both believe in focusing on not just the Indigenous people, the tribes, but also the values. Having said that, now let's talk about Prime Minister Modi's upcoming visit to Australia, which is why I want to quickly bring you in on the timing of this visit. It's a very critical visit at a very critical juncture. There are talks about how the US commitment, say, to the overall security in the Indo-Pacific is being questioned at a time when there was an abrupt rollback of Indo from the Indo-Pacific US command nomenclature. So how can India, Australia and even Japan work towards bringing focus back on the Quad and bring more greater regional security?
Well, look, the Quad's in very good shape, as the foreign ministers' meeting showed just 6 weeks ago right here in India. And Australia's relations with the United States are in very, very good shape. But you are right that our region, the Indo-Pacific, is unpredictable and creates challenges for us. And we think the strategic circumstances that we face are deteriorating. In that, you know, India is a crucial partner for Australia, what we describe as a top-tier defence and security partner. And we hope that what India perceives Australia is as a reliable partner in challenging times.
I'm glad you speak about security, which is why I want to ask you, what are the kind of outcomes we can expect from Prime Minister's visit to Australia, especially when it comes to maritime security and defence cooperation?
Well, look, I think the outcomes will embrace the three big domains of our bilateral relationship. We are strategically aligned and focused on our region, the Indo-Pacific. We have strong complementary economies. That means that Australia produces the things that India needs for the next phase of its economic growth, whether that's energy, whether that's minerals, or whether that's skills and training. And the third big domain relates to the people, the fact that there's now more than 1 million people of Indian origin in Australia who are making a big contribution to our multicultural world. You mentioned the maritime space, and I think that's important.
Even more so after the disturbances in West Asia, you know. And
that's right, but think about it this way. Australia and India can do a lot in defence, but where it might matter the most is where our strategic geographies intersect, and that's in the Eastern Indian Ocean. So I think that's a field that we can go forward on. Look, I'm pleased you mentioned the disturbances in the Strait of Hormuz. That's affected both of our countries, and it's focused my country much more on what we call energy security, being assured of supply. And in that respect, Australia has been a reliable supplier to India of coal and of LNG, and India is an important supplier for us of liquid fuels, including diesel and aviation fuel. So I'm sure the two sides will focus on that as they go forward in this visit.
And I'm glad you spoke about the people-to-people ties, which is why I want to ask you, when we talk about the Australia-India Economic Cooperation Agreement, there's focus on reviving migration, mobility. What can we expect when it comes to, say, skilled labour and students? Any announcements announcements in the offing?
Well, what I would say is this. The student relationship between Australia and India is very buoyant. More than 140,000 Indian students in Australia at the moment. But my view is that the education relationship shouldn't be a one-way street. And that's why I'm delighted that Australian universities have answered the Modi government's call for what we call foreign branch campuses. It was Australian universities that established the first foreign branch campuses in India, and many others have followed. And that gives the Indian consumer choice. It gives the Indian family a choice between a high-quality education in Australia and a similar quality education, the same quality education from an Australian university right here in India at a much less cost. So to me, that's what's important about this moment in our bilateral relationship with India. It's about more than a flow of students.
Let's talk about national security. Both Australia and India have borne the brunt of terrorism in 2025, whether it is the incident at Bondi Beach in Australia, or say what happened in Pahalgam, or even the Red Fort terror blast. How do you think both the countries can work on sharing better intel and fight terrorism?
Well, I think you know part of the answer to that, because you saw Prime Minister Albanese was one of the very first global leaders who reached out to Prime Minister Modi after the atrocity in Pahalgam. Australia and India work very closely through the UN, bilaterally, in important global forums to counter the scourge of terrorism, and I'm sure that will be reinforced during this visit.
I want to talk about something which has become a bit of a sore point, which is the Khalistani incidents that have also led to some vandalism of Indian temples as well, Hindu temples. How is Australia looking to crack down on, say, violent extremism perpetrated by Khalistani elements?
Well, the first thing to say is Australia strongly supports India's territorial integrity. There are people who have a Khalistani view in Australia. They're a small minority. They're a tiny minority. Those people, like any people in Australia, are entitled to peaceful protest, but where violence is involved, whether that's against people or against buildings, it's very important that we respond to that, and our federal police, our intelligence, our multicultural, our foreign policy agencies are deeply involved in making sure that that sort of violence is stopped where it can be, or when it does occur, rarely, that there is action against it. So I don't think that's going to be a big part of this visit.
I'm glad that Australia and India are on the same page about it. My last question is about what Prime Minister Modi said when he visited Sydney the last time around. He visited Australia in 2023. He said India and Australia are united by CDMEs, and he spoke about how it's from cricket to curry, diaspora to democracy, economy to education.
Yes.
What, according to you, is it that the Indian diaspora brings to Australia that is so unique?
Well, I think we should go to the F, shouldn't we? It's fantastic, the Indian diaspora. It brings colour and vibrancy. It brings a dimension of sophistication and capability, especially in the tech domain, but way beyond that. Very many people of professional skill from the Indian community in Australia. So I think we can get beyond C, D, E and move on to F, which is the fabulous Indian diaspora in Australia.
What is that one fabulous Indian dish that is thoroughly enjoyed in Australia?
I think everyone knows butter chicken and everyone loves it.
And on that note, I want you to explain me this gorgeous indigenous artwork, which of course has got Australia written all over it.
Yeah, so I mean, this is from the northern part of Australia, and it depicts spirit figures from the local people in that field. We think it's enormously important to put on display and lead with Indigenous art, culture, and indeed all of the other ways in which Indigenous people make a big contribution to our life. We had last year a great delegation of Australian Indigenous people in business, and that's where I want to put even more emphasis. So Prime Minister Modi will be welcomed by an Australia which is very focused on multiculturalism and very focused in particular
not
on
just
its
Prime Minister Modi, but I leave it to you, High Commissioner Philip Green, for bringing more of that Aboriginal art from Australia to India. I want to see more of it and perhaps pick some myself as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akanksha.
Thank
Much
you. Pleasure.
welcome.
And with this, a very short break. More news and updates on the other side.